Hey babes, I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Beverly. Grab your favorite drink. Let's sip and chat.
Welcome to Tipsy and Truthful, the podcast.
Period. Hey babes, welcome to another episode of Tipsy and Truthful, the podcast where two best friends sip and chat about life, relationships, parenthood, and everything in between. I'm Beverly.
And I'm Cynthia.
And I don't know, how do we start this week? With our highs and our opportunities? Yeah?
Sure.
Can you start? My brain is like, I need more coffee, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My high of the week, I think, is seeing Jessica more than once.
Wow.
For sure. That's
Qué
definitely the high.
regalo.
That's definitely the high. No. I think the high of the week for me, do I even have one? I don't know. I feel like it's just
We talked about it yesterday. I thought your high and your opportunity were kind of rolled into one because you were spiraling and then you realized something right after.
I guess
after
that could
me
be
and
my
Yvonne
high. I
yelled
didn't
at
say
you.
that was going to be my high. Maybe you just thought it. You're like, I'm going to say it, but you never said it.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe. I think that I had a tough couple of days, emotionally, but that was like my opportunity. The fact that I need to work on knowing, and this has been my opportunity for a couple of weeks of like, shooting for the stars and knowing that at some point all these things are gonna align and I'm gonna get to where I need to get to. But I think
I want to say something, but we can cut it out if you don't feel comfortable.
Go.
You were talking about like your battle with like the flesh and
Go
the
ahead.
spirit.
Yeah.
Did you want
Go ahead.
to say that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I don't want to say your opportunity.
Go ahead, because I don't remember how I said it.
Well, I don't. I definitely don't. This pregnancy brain me tiene más bruta de lo normal. But you were saying how, you've been frustrated because you know that God has something in store for you.
Mm-hmm.
But like your flesh is like
Behind.
challenging that, right?
Well, because my spirit is ahead of time.
Right.
I feel like my spirit is where it's supposed to be, like it knows. But then still in my flesh, in this body.
Your humanness.
Yes, in my humanness, that's a perfect way to say it. It still hasn't caught up to the things that my spirit knows and things that I practice. And so I think that was the frustrating part for me yesterday, that I know these things, but still I find myself being very mean to myself and discouraging myself from opportunities and things because I feel like inadequate. I feel not worthy of these things, even though I know it's a lie. So that's definitely my opportunity and the high. The fact that I could recognize that. And I know that I have to continue to fight for that.
You did like a 360. You said me and Yvonne both yelled at you.
Yeah.
And I spoke to you at like 7 p.m. And your face, like I could see the how distraught you were. And you were like fighting back tears, literally.
I had to cry. I definitely cried.
And then like at 9 p.m. we spoke again. And you were like cheerful and like smiling and like a whole different vibe. I don't know what happened in those 2 hours, but
It's because I couldn't put into words what I was trying to convey. And I feel like the more I talked about it, the more I was able to be like, okay, it's not that I'm impatient. I'm frustrated because I know these things, but my body is trying to give me anxiety and is trying to put worries in my mind that aren't there. And it's frustrating when you know that and you're like fighting against that all the time. And that's where my frustration comes, So then I realized that I cried because I feel like I also haven't cried like that in a long time. I cry usually of joy, but not of like I'm frustrated and I need to like let it out. And after I did, I felt better. I was like, oh, all right.
it's healthy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And especially someone like me that cries all the time, I needed that. So
I can't picture you as someone who cries all the time. Actually, now I can because I know you more. But if I like,
If you just walk past her, you couldn't picture that?
no, I wouldn't.
She looks like a strong person.
I'm not. I'm so emotional, and and I feel like that's a strength of mine, though.
I agree.
I don't think it's like weakness. I used to see it as, I'm so weak, but like it's a strength. I'm super empathetic.
Yeah.
Things just make me cry all the time.
And in tune with your emotions.
For sure.
Some
And
of
I feel
us
like that's a strength.
struggle to try to figure out what we're even feeling. So that's definitely a strength.
Yeah.
How about me?
So I'm a crybaby. We'll get in.
Self-declared crybaby. My high of the week was seeing my gordo.
Oh, so cute.
Well, I have two highs of the week. Miss Jessica, I love the conversation that we had on the way there. So Jessica randomly called me, texted me, and said like, oh, like we should go do something, like me, you, and the kids. And like, what should we do? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'll let you know. And then I fell asleep because I'm a grandma. It was like 9:30. And al otro día, on Saturday morning, I was like, sorry, I fell asleep, but how about we go? It's like this indoor
arcade.
It's like an arcade. It has like this 3-story slide. It's a really cool spot. It's like 30 minutes from home, but it's really cool. And so Jessica, I found it kind of random, but I was like, okay, like let's go. Better than having the kids like in here driving me crazy. So we went, and on the way there, she told me that. I was like, well, this is kind of random. She's like, well, the other day for Alia's birthday when we went out and we were like talking, it hit her. Like she said that it hit her that Alia's 14 and that like pretty soon she's not going to want to hang out with us or go to arcades or do any of that. Mm-hmm. So she was like, she didn't want to go that time. No, she didn't want to go because she should, teenagers are trying to be cool. You know what I mean? Whatever. She was like, oh, I'm going to wear my sneakers. If it's raining, I need to do that. And I'm like, girl, let's go. Deja tu vaina, please.
Wear your Crocs.
Well, she did it. She was walking out the door and then she realized it was raining out. And she had her new sneakers that actually her tia Jess bought her. She was like, I got to put Crocs on. And I'm like, no, we're leaving. Let's go. You're not going into the mud. You're going into a car and then into another location. You'll be okay. We're not hiking. So I think I loved that we spent so much time together, like that we were together pretty much that entire afternoon on Saturday. And that Jessica kind of saw or sees like, wow, my nieces and nephews are growing so fast. And like, I got to hurry up and like squeeze as much time as I can out of, especially the two big ones.
Yeah.
So that was cute, Jess. Part two of my high of the week though was my baby. I saw I had a 3D ultrasound yesterday. And I saw his little fat face. So cute. He's Jonas's twin. Adorable and chunky.
Now, you say that Jonas was ugly when he's born. Do you think
he was a little alien? Yeah. It's because he was bald. Now that I look at him, it's because he was so bald. Like he had no hair, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, right? So when he was born, the mother's eyes, he was the cutest baby to me.
Then Tia's eyes too, because to me, I was like, he is adorable.
Okay. And now I look back and I can see compared to how he looks now, how he looked when he was a newborn. I was like, he looked like a little alien. Completely lambeo, no hair anywhere. Super light skin. Like, he was not a cute baby. I can see that now. He looks
like he's ready to be a little bachatero. The little haircuts.
A dancing one?
No, but I could see him like in a mambo group or something. Like,
you think
he has el flow, the little chicken wing dance?
Even in church, he does a chicken wing dance. You guys, I'm gonna have to post a video of him doing his little dance. It's so cute. But yeah, that was my high of the week. Do I have an opportunity? My opportunity is communicating when something is bothering me in that moment. And doing it effectively, because I've been, I've said on here before that I'm a reactive person, that I was, I'm not going to claim that no more. I was a reactive person and I'm working towards, still expressing what I feel, but in a more,
effective,
like level way, like not exploding. So, yeah. So this week we are talking about, this was a random thought that kind of came to mind. We have mentioned here like the struggles of being like first generation Dominican-Americans, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, the definition of first generation, we were the first ones from our family to be born in the United States.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that is I
don't know if that's the real definition because I didn't look it up, but that's what I thought it was. We've talked about that, but you know what I was thinking, like all the things. We had our challenges as first generation, and our kids will have different challenges and like advantages too as a second generation Dominican-Americans. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we wanted to chat a little bit about that. You want to start?
No, you can start.
Okay. I mean, we've talked a little bit about it before, but
we've definitely touched upon it in other episodes of like being the first generation, especially being daughters, and the responsibility that comes with that, the trauma that comes with that. But I think we want to focus on, now that we're parents, right? How that's going to look for our kids now that they are second generation. The fact that this is all they know. Their parents, aka me and Beverly, were born here. Two, immigrants, newly immigrants. Now, their experience is completely different because there was a lot of things that come to mind that we did that I know I haven't done or will do with my son because there's no need. For example, let's start off strong, right? I said I was going to let you start, but
go ahead. Yeah.
The fact that as a child growing up, because I knew the language, it was my responsibility to translate absolutely everything for my parents and try to communicate that. Now, I want you to imagine a 9-10-year-old communicating terms beyond my years and beyond my understanding and trying to break that down to my parents. Yeah. And them trusting me with that information.
So not only you trying to understand what these
I didn't understand.
medical terms, lawyer terms.
Let's be clear, I didn't understand.
No, you tried to though, I imagine. You tried to understand.
I mean, I used my decoding skills of like, okay, let's read the sentence 30 times until something clicks.
Something must jump out at me. So you tried to understand it.
Yeah, for
and then translating it in a way that will make sense to your parents.
And let me tell you, I think I have pretty good Spanish. I do. Because that's something my parents definitely enforced in me. And not only that, like I studied Spanish. So grammatically, I can read, I can write, I can do all of it, right? But at that age, I still didn't have the proper vocabulary.
A 9-year-old doesn't even know their primary language fully.
But that's what I'm saying. And I was trying to figure out the words in Spanish. And I'm like, that's not it. Yeah. I was definitely a no sabo at that age, trying to explain something to my parents. You know what I'm saying? And so my son never has to worry about that. Why? Because his mother, who was born here, knows English.
And Spanish.
And actually, on the reverse, the struggle that they face now is that because we speak more English, sometimes the Spanish is where we're lacking.
Is lacking, yeah.
My husband and I have this fight every single day because my husband doesn't speak English. And so Cairo understands everything in Spanish, but he responds in English.
You know what I just thought of? For you, Cairo is a second generation Dominican-American. But from Jael's side, Cairo is his first generation.
That's true.
Here.
Yeah.
And how different that looks for everyone. Because like Jessica wasn't born here, right? Her children will be a first generation. But she came here so young, she knows the language. You know, she's never had to work factory jobs. She's never been undocumented in this country. You know? I don't know how your parents, but my parents were undocumented at first.
Parents. Thankfully, they weren't.
Yeah, my mom was at first. And, you know, the challenges that come with... My mom came young enough where she knows English, right? But her English is not 100% still, you know?
But still, she can
trying to learn as an adult with children when you have to work because you need to survive is not the same as us learning in school because we're just there. The language thing is huge.
For sure.
Because... I also was translating, especially for my dad. So my mom se defendía, right? She knew enough where she didn't need me for everything. But like when it came to school papers, especially when Carolina and Jessica were all here, and it was in September, we all started school and they used to give the packets of paperwork to fill out, the emergency contacts and this and sign this and photo release. Guess who was filling out all those papers for all 5 children?
Yeah, you. Same for me and my sister.
At one point, my mom even taught me her signature.
Oh, no, my dad made sure that I had his signature down packed. Because I would sign checks and everything.
Wow.
I'm serious. Like, if they weren't home and I need to send out a payment, they would call me on the phone like, oh, I forgot that I need to pay this. Go to my gaveta, get the checkbook. This is what you're going to write. Sign my name, put it in an envelope, rip this paper, rip this bill little thing, and put it in the mailbox. Because we had a mailbox at the corner of the street, at Maple Street.
I remember.
And he's like, run to the mailbox and put it in there because I forgot. And it needs to be timestamped with today's date or whatever so that it's not late. It's all those things that my son never has to worry about. First of all, because technology, thank Lord.
Yeah, we
can just do everything online
and pay it.
Everything is auto pay for me because I don't even have time to deal with that. But he doesn't have to worry about that.
I know.
My son never has to like be like, ooh, my mom told me I got to pay this bill, and if I don't, it's my fault.
My girls have never filled out their own paperwork for school.
Man.
Ever. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
They've never had to translate something for me. I mean, they kind of decode the phone like when I can't do something. They're like, Mommy, give me your phone. You really don't know how to do that? Like,
no, I don't. I'm a millennial. And technology is going too fast.
It's so crazy how they make me, like, they age me sometimes when it comes to technology. Like, you know how on your phone, if you have an iPhone, you can like do different backgrounds and like lock screens. Like you can program them and you can now like change the font, change the color, make it so that your photos even switch. I don't know how to do any of that.
I do, but it's because I intentionally look that up. Like I go on TikTok and
okay, but you have to look it up. They just know.
They definitely see the TikToks because people just put them on TikToks quick. Like, oh, you want to do this? Boom, boom, boom. But they're able to register it faster than we are. I have to watch a video 4 times. I'll be like, wait, where did it go? You know what I'm saying? Like, but they're able to pick that up quickly, which is an advantage.
John just figured out that that can even happen, mind you. Like a couple weeks ago, he was like, "Did you see this, babe?" I'm like, "What?" Look, every time I click, the picture changes on my background. I'm like, yeah, it's been like that. But like these things like make me realize that we used to look at our parents like when we were on AIM and they were like, ¿Qué lo que está un tililín que entra su mensaje? ¿Qué es esto? Or when we had to like
see, for me, it was different because my dad loves technology.
Yeah.
So we've always had computers growing up. I remember having
your dad
my first computer.
Build computers.
Yeah, my dad, he still does. He loves to put computers together. Like, honestly, my dad is so smart. And it was because of he didn't have the opportunities to do these things. But if we would have done it for a living, he would have been great because he enjoys fixing things like engineering.
I remember you guys had a whole room just full of computer parts.
Motherboards and like these discs. He's like, let me change this. Let me program this software. Like, and he could do it all. You know what I'm saying? Him and my brother.
I forgot about that.
Him and my brother. Yeah.
That was not the case in my house.
So we've always had technology.
Like, every 2 minutes, she'll be calling me like, what's the word she uses about her phone? Me bloqueó. Venga, ayúdame que se me bloqueó. Like, she'll be like, I'm trying to call you, pero se me bloqueó. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm trying to go into Facebook, pero se me bloqueó. I'm like, did you delete the app? I don't understand what you're saying right now. It's so different.
That's funny, yeah.
Another struggle. Well, I think on the opposite end, I struggle with my kids not knowing enough Spanish. Like for us, Spanish was my first language. I didn't know. I went into school not knowing any English.
Same.
Like I learned there. I think I was in ESL classes.
Oh, I was in ESL classes still. Still, when I went to take my SATs in high school, they, when you take these standardized tests, they know who's been in ESL or not, and they're supposed to accommodate. So they would give me a word for word translation, and I would be looking like, I don't need this. They're like, oh, it's as a accommodation for you. And I'm just like, accommodation? I haven't been in ESL classes since I was in 3rd, 4th grade. So I don't need this. Thanks. I looked at it as a disadvantage. Now thinking about it, what an idiot.
Yeah.
I should have used it.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But young brains don't think like grown-up brains. I think I was in ESL classes only for like kindergarten, 1st grade. And then after that, I was in all, they moved me to the traditional like classes. But wait, where was I going with this? That we learned Spanish first, but my kids, like I speak to them in Spanish, but they'll respond in English.
Same with Cairo.
And that, like, that who really gets bothered by that? John. And now that I think of it too, he was born in DR too. So for him, like he really got strong in English when he came here and we got together. Because he knew English before, but I don't know about you guys. He never spoke it before.
Not at all. I didn't. It's one of those things that I was like, when did you start learning English?
Yeah.
Because it like caught me by surprise that he was speaking English.
And he's very fluent.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
He's smart. The thing with John is that he's a really fast learner. So like he had the basis because he said in DR he watched everything in English, like all the movies, all the cartoons.
Yeah, but Jael did too. He don't know nothing.
The difference is that John went to, I think he did like 2nd grade, 3rd grade here. He did like a couple when he was very young.
So he had that little. Yeah.
So he had the base. And
so you married someone?
No.
Okay.
Actually. He did a couple of years here, and then he kept practicing in DR. But you were the same too, Jessica. When you moved back here after high school. Well, you said, did I marry somebody? And I didn't marry somebody. So.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
The sore subject for me, okay? So Jessica was the same. She knew like the foundation, but a ella había que darle galleta para que hablar inglés. She would refuse. And I think it's like comes down to like embarrassment. There you go.
But I
Hannah
think
Montana.
that's because, you know, you're self-conscious of like speaking a language that you're not really comfortable in.
And that's what I don't like.
You know that you say that
I'm not as hard on the girls because of that. Yeah, people make fun of you. You're like, you have an accent and there's words that you just will say wrong or say the wrong like grammar or whatever. And they think it's funny. This turned into a language episode. Let's move on.
No, well, going back to, but that's part of being an immigrant. That's not that
it's a big piece.
It's a huge piece. And it doesn't matter where you come from. That's a struggle that everybody faces. That's something that's just a challenge that you have to get. It's funny that you say the whole ESL thing, because now that I'm thinking about it, Cairo's in ESL classes.
He is?
Yes. They pull him out. And so they pull him out every day for like 10, 15 minutes.
Cairo?
Yes. So when he did his WIDA test, he was strong in like reading and stuff, but like speaking, he struggles. Like, and they asked me like, okay, what languages do you guys speak at home? And I was like, both English. I speak English, but his dad speaks Spanish. He's like, okay, so this is normal in kids that are learning 2 languages simultaneously. And I was like, so he is learning, because I also remember telling him that he's not going to DR unless he speaks Spanish. And so
I did the same thing with the kids with the girls.
Oh no, he takes that seriously. So he practices his Spanish. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard him.
Yeah, he's really trying. Because he's like, ¿tú no me vas a dejar aquí? No? but like, it's funny because he's like a first, second generation. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
are Jason Jonas. You know, something that I was hearing about that I've never thought of, the first generation guilt. Have you heard of that?
Yes, feeling guilty.
So there was this guy that was like feeling guilty.
I actually went on a rabbit hole with a lot of his videos.
Oh yeah? He was saying that he feels guilty because, you know, he has a quote unquote good job where he, you know, sits in an office under air conditioner. He's comfortable. He loves what he does. He gets paid. He gets, you know, he earns a good like living. He makes actually enough money to live. I'll put it that way. And like his parents crossed the border. They had to have jobs at, you know, whatever job that they could get.
In extreme temperatures.
He has a brother also. He said he has a brother who's a mail carrier. That he doesn't like that job, but like that's the best paying job that he can get under his circumstances, and that he feels guilt for
making money.
Basically, for making the amount of money that he does and the conditions that he does, when he knows that his parents didn't have that opportunity and still don't, and even his sibling doesn't have the same opportunity.
He talked about like, I just want to make enough money where he's like, I know that I haven't made it until I'm able to like keep them home comfortably.
That's something else, babe. I have a dream of buying my mom a house. I hope and I pray that by the time my girls are 35 almost, that's my age, that they won't have to be thinking about, I want to buy my parents a home. That we'll be the ones saying, hey, we should help you buy a home. Here's X amount of money for your down payment. Do you need a cosigner? I'll cosign for you. That we're able to facilitate that for them. You know, even though we unfortunately didn't get that from our parents, you know, and I don't fault them at all. They've done what they can. But like for me, I have this family compound dream. And in that family compound, I want to build. My mom loves tiny houses. Like she watches all the HGTV shows, like where they build them and all the technology inside of them. I would love to have my mom close to me in a tiny home just for her. She doesn't have to worry about paying anything. You just go and live there. And then whenever you want to go to DR, because it gets too cold here, te puedes ir, puedes volver. You don't have to worry about nothing, no bills, no nothing. Like that would be a dream for me. But I feel like our kids might not share that same dream because they haven't seen us struggle the way we watched our parents struggle. Like there's a huge difference between the first gen struggle and the second gen struggle, right?
I agree with you 100%.
Right?
I think I think especially for first generations, like for us that had parents that weren't educated, because there's some people that have parents that immigrated here because of job opportunities, you know, and they're able to live a good life. They were able to figure out the system early enough where they didn't have to struggle. No, I'm talking about like friends of mine that had parents that were doctors in another country, and they were able to do all the things that they needed to do here to be doctors here. You know what I'm saying? Or to be lawyers here.
No,
or to
of
figure
course.
out businesses.
Every first generation struggle will look different.
Exactly.
Or not struggle. Let me rephrase that. Every first generation circumstance will look different.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, Jessica's kids are going to be first generation, but she came young enough where she knows the language. She's probably gonna have a home by the time she has kids. Like she's gonna have all the steps in place so that her kids won't feel like they're coming into a struggle. Like I had to work, and when I worked, I had to help in my contribute to my household.
Yeah. See, I didn't, but my parents were like, "Okay, you want a car? We'll give you a car." A 1993 Ford Explorer green.
Cayéndose a pedazo.
I always have to mention that because I don't want people to think that I was driving around here with
a Benz.
With a Benz. No, I had a 1993 green Ford Explorer. Look that up. Anyways, my dad, that was my dad's car, and he bought a different car and gave me that one. Everybody could hear me at school because it was a V8, so they knew when I was coming. Yeah, it was loud. It was loud. It was powerful. It was powerful.
Jessica, you have no idea. But let me tell you, she was the only one with a car.
Exactly.
So we were all like,
so everybody would make fun of me. I'm like, but whose car are we going in? Exactly.
Okay, but where's your car, sir?
Yeah, exactly. So, but my dad, he was like, we'll give you the car, but it's your responsibility to put gas in it. You're not asking me for gas. It's your responsibility to pay the insurance because you're a new driver and I'm not paying for that new insurance. Like they put me under their policy, but their policy went up. But I still had to pay for
the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just, that was my responsibility.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't have to contribute really to our home because like I've said this before, my dad always made good money. He just didn't know how to administrate. He didn't know how to handle the money appropriately.
Yeah.
He was very just crazy with it.
That's another thing though, the financial literacy that we've had to learn and we can pass on to our kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Our parents just came from the campo, not knowing what to do with money. They had to learn. Like I feel like my mom is pretty smart with her money, but I don't know when she learned that. I don't think she didn't have to work growing up, so she had to learn that in this country after she was an adult with kids.
And my parents on the reverse, they had a hard upbringing, so they always earned money. They had to survive. So they brought that here, that work mentality of survival, and I think that's what's triggering for me. Because I know how hard they worked and the little that they were able to accomplish. I mean, grateful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you see how much work they put into it,
yeah,
it hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know that it wasn't easy to wake up every day at 4:30, 3:30. My dad would leave the house sometimes at 4, out of the house, not at home, by 4 o'clock.
Wow.
In the winter, to be working on a roof or be working in ridiculous conditions, doing demolition and stuff like that. My mom had to work in a factory in New Balance.
Forever.
My mom did that for 30 years.
Wow.
And that's another thing, the health complications that come with these jobs.
Yeah.
Because both of my parents are dealing with health complications due to these repetitive jobs. My dad with back problems, extreme. He just told me this morning that he went to go get his, every 6 to 8 weeks he gets cortisone or steroid injections because he has really bad back pain. They couldn't do it today because they discovered that he has arthritis on his back. And they need to do more testing before they figure out what's.
Oh my goodness.
And it's because of all the drilling and all the extremely heavy lifting that he did in really bad temperatures. Think about that. And my mom has arthritis in both of her hands. She opted out of surgery because she's like, that's probably going to put me worse off because of repetitive motion of manufacturing companies. New Balance. So it's seeing that is something that my son is not going to have to see me go through.
Yeah.
Because none of my jobs are repetitive like that, where they're going to, make me sick.
You know what else I thought of? When I went to college, I had to figure out how to do financial aid. I took out loans by myself, not knowing what I was doing. I was signing on the dotted line, but I had no idea what I was signing up for. Even enrolling and finding a place to go to, picking up. Like my parents had nothing to do with it. They didn't know.
They just gave me the papers. I'm like, I need these taxes. They gave them to me, and I then did what I needed to do with that.
Did I need my parents' tax? I think I didn't.
Well, you lived on your own. When
I
you
lived by
decided
myself.
To. So you
I
had to
did it
opt
all
out.
on my own. But like our kids won't need, if they choose to go to college, they won't need to do any of that on their own. Like they're going to have us to walk them through the whole process, to help them choose a major if they're struggling, to, you know, give them advice on do this, don't do that. You know, this worked for me. This didn't work for me. That's nuts. Even the homework now.
That's a nerve you just struck with homework.
They give too much homework to carry.
Dude, sometimes I'm tired and I'm just like, he's been having this much homework since he was in kindergarten. And I'm just
I think
like,
that's not, maybe it's at school or maybe it's a district because we live in different cities. But the girls never have like a lot of homework.
My God, Cairo has a ridiculous amount of homework.
Wow.
But you know, the good thing is, I complain about it because, you know, it's really homework for the parents. Like
it's a lot of work.
I have to sit there with him and help him through his homework. It's not like I could just be like, he's not at the age where he can figure it out on his own. Like I have to sit there with him and do math and do spelling and read.
Okay, but let me interrupt you. But when you were in second grade, who helped you with
Nobody?
Your homework? You had to figure it out on your own, right? Just like I did.
So maybe we're
my
enabling.
parents, maybe. Well, or maybe it's because we knew like the struggle that it was to do it on our own and figure it out. When I didn't know about a math problem, like I would ask my mom. My mom likes math, right? So I would ask my mom, but she would do something that looked like a foreign language to me because they did like math differently when she was growing up.
They
in
do
DR.
math differently now
Then yeah.
than when we went to school.
When I see the way that they do long division, I'm like, "Y esta vaina? What happened to
get
the
it.
regular division?"
I get it. You don't get it because
I don't get it.
Yeah. You don't get it because you already know that way, but teaching the kids the why makes it easier for them to figure it out.
But I can at least do it out and see if their answer matches my answer,
for sure,
you know?
For sure.
Are we enabling them?
I don't think I'm enabling. I think that I'm being a supportive parent and doing my part
I think so
in
too.
being, an
This
active
is a second
parent,
grader. It's
you
not
know?
like he's a sophomore in high school
Exactly.
and you have to sit with him every night.
And you know what? I know that this is building the skills that he already does it. It's already in his nature to be like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. I need to do my reading. He'll tell me that himself. I don't have to like remind him that he has to read. He's able to be like, oh, I gotta read, Mom. You know, and I'm like, okay, that responsibility is already like that little seed
instilled in him.
is there. So I'm not worried that Carol's gonna be studious, is what I'm saying. Because he is. Because that's something that we're building, you know? Anyways.
Worried. I still have to do reminders. Yesterday I had to convince Aliyah to finish her project. It's not a project. She had like a paper that was due. She had to write a scary story, right? And you know what I told her? You're going to laugh. She's like, I have no idea what to write. I'm like, Manina has had Cynthia is Aliyah's godmother. And she's called her Manina since she was little. So that's her name. And I was like, Manina has had like 500 near-death experiences. So you can just call her.
For sure.
And you can write a story based on one of her experiences.
I have stories for these.
She ended up like, she came up with something, I don't know. But I had to convince her to finish it yesterday.
Yeah.
She was like, well, I have until tomorrow. I'm like, but you're home. There's no school today. You're doing nothing. Finish it. She was very annoyed.
That's my problem too. I'm a procrastinator. So I get that.
I get that too.
And that's maybe why I am the way I am with Kyra though. Because that's something I struggled with throughout high school. Throughout, just in general. Being a procrastinator is something that I've struggled with. I get my work done, but
you're like finishing like right under the deadline.
Right, exactly. Like it's due at 9 o'clock. At 8:59, I'm like, whew. I'm done.
I made it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want that for Cairo. I want him to have ample time to do whatever he has to do. So that's a struggle that he's not going to have to go through. Doing anything, like you said, on his own. So for sure.
I asked, I was talking to Aliyah about this whole conversation that we were going to have today last night. And she said, well, I don't know if this is because of like second generation, first generation, but like you tell me that you used to play outside all the time. And like, you don't really let us go out the way that you guys did. Like I lived in Methuen on Cook Street, and I would go to Lawrence Street to Rachel's house. Thinking about it now, I was very young. I would take my little sisters with me. I would even come back with Michelle, who was like 5, on on my pegs of my Huffy bike, okay? And I would never let them do that now. Estoy lejos.
It's so crazy that you say that because my friends and I used to walk around the whole city. They would come pick me up on Maple Street, right? And I would tell my parents, vengo ahora, I'm going to go for a walk. And I would end up in Methuen. So think about this. I would walk from Maple Street and I would walk all the way. Like I would go around like Tenny Street and Park Street, para allá arriba. Like Park en Methuen. Y bajaba así. Daba la vuelta.
That's far.
And I would come back like I don't know how I did that in an hour and a half. But we would.
Well, we can't. We at this age, we can't
would go
do
through
that walk.
Broadway. Like, are you kidding me? Think about that now. Like the girls just going for a walk through Broadway Street.
No, not happening.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And it's like, and it's not that it's first or second generation. It's that the world was a completely different place. And we're going to keep mentioning that because it was.
And that's why I told that. I'm like, she even said it. After she said it, she immediately was like, well, maybe it's not because of first generation. Maybe it's just because it's more dangerous now. That's what you guys keep saying.
I just read something about these people, these kids at 2:45 in the afternoon in Salem, Mass. These three girls were walking home from school and this car pulled up and was like, hey, get in the car. Your mom said so. And the girl, thankfully, we're teaching stranger danger. And they were like, and they kept walking and they ran. And there was another passenger with them that easily could have abducted.
Exactly. Just pulled them into a vehicle.
Thankfully, everybody has cameras. The fact that people are so bold to even try this, when a lot of people have cameras.
Babe, but okay. And I don't want to be negative Nancy here. But what's the camera going to do if they take your child, Dios libre, they take this child off the street? And what do you think? They keep them? If it's like a human trafficking thing,
I know.
They just go. They cross borders immediately. They switch cars. They have a system.
Yeah, I know that. That's just
so knowing what car what like it happened in sometimes isn't even enough.
Now that you say that, and maybe this has nothing to do with first generation, but like.
Well, I didn't finish what I was going to tell you about. And I told Aaliyah, it's two things. Number one, yes, times are 100% different. But number two, because our parents grew up in Dominican Republic, it was normal for them to just be like, okay, you had breakfast, you did your chores, go outside, do what you got to do, come back by dinner, and then take a shower and go to bed. That was normal to them. And even though it's normal to us to some degree, we have something that they didn't have, which is we get news instantly. The technology has made it so that we know there's Amber Alerts now. There's like too many things that make us nervous as parents to just let our kids roam free around the city. And
that's where I was going to go with Cairo. Like, I'm a psycho parent with Cairo. We go to a store. Guess where my 7-year-old is? Inside my car. Don't play with me. Cairo, and he knows already. He doesn't even question it. He's like, he's waiting for me to open the car because he sits in the big car.
¿Y qué tú vas a hacer cuando él no quepa allá adentro? Because he's getting close to that.
No, but that's different because I feel like he's going to have the agility to, he's still like not there yet. Like he's 7. And even though the thing is that they're not aware the way we are. And so like, I'm very hyper aware of my surroundings at all times. Like it's just, and maybe it's unfortunately the times that we're living in the news, I'm always like worried. I'm always like looking around at, I've told you this. We had this conversation that anytime I go to a place, the first thing I look for is exit signs. It doesn't matter where I'm going. So I'm grabbing my kid and I'm dipping.
This conversation is going a whole different direction, but I feel the need to do a story time.
Wait. But the reason I bring that up is because when we were growing up, my mom, like we would be roaming the whole stores. Like it was like,
I know. Even the mall.
Bucamento.
And meet up at this time, because we didn't have cell phones like that.
No.
Okay, mira, vayan, a esta hora, vengan para atrás, nos juntamos aquí.
Exactly. Or my mom would send me out in the grocery store, like, okay, go to this aisle, get me this, para terminar más rápido. Get me this, get me that. I'm not doing that to Cairo. That's what I mean. That's why I needed to say that.
Gotcha. Story time about why I don't go to the Walmart in Salem no more.
Here we go.
This thing scarred me for life, for real. We were being followed. I'm not going to do the whole like detailed story, but basically I was in the store. I had Jace and Jonas. This was maybe like a year ago. So Jonas was a baby.
Was it a year ago?
I think so. It was in the summertime and it wasn't this summer. So it must have been last summer. It was last summer. It was around back to school time. Okay. And I noticed this guy, like, I thought it was a coincidence at first. He was everywhere we were. Okay. He didn't have a shopping cart. He didn't have a shopping basket. He had a packet of pens in his hand. But he didn't give me creepy vibes, right? This guy he looked either Hispanic or black. He was wearing athletic clothes and like running shoes. And, we just kept our eye contact. We kept like meeting each other, like the eye contact. And I would just smile, like be friendly and keep going. But that's such a huge store. And it started getting weird that he was everywhere we were. Mm-hmm. Right? So I have both of the boys in the cart because otherwise they'll run everywhere. But the girls are like, oh, mommy, I'm going to go look at this perfume. I'm going to go take a look at this mascara. I'm going to go, because I'm like looking at the supplements and they're in Walmart. The makeup section is right behind.
Not anymore, but okay.
Okay, it was. And then I noticed this guy and he's not even like near me. He's near where the girls are. And I'm like, maybe I'm just being paranoid, but I was like, girls, come stay with me. And we're like, when we leave from that section and go to like a different section of the store, he's still there. And then I started panicking and I'm like, okay, we have to test this. I didn't say anything to the girls. I didn't want them to panic. If it was nothing to panic about, right? And I'm gaslighting myself like why would he be following you guys? Like what's going on? I go in the middle of the women's clothing section, right? In the middle. So I'm like, okay, why would he be in the women's clothing section? So I go in the middle and I'm just, like pretending to look around at shirts or something. And I look up and there's this guy again. At this point, I lost it, okay? All the plans that I had of if this ever happened to me went out the window. I don't remember anything. I called John and I told him, babe, some guy keeps following us in Walmart. He's like, what? Where are you? I want to go right now. And I'm like, we're too far from you. He's like, well, I don't know. Like, he didn't even know what to tell me. And I didn't know what to do either. So that's when I finally told the girls, like, girls, I think that guy right there is following us. And I said it loud enough so that he can hear us. And when he did, he left. He jetted, but I jetted first. I jetted faster. Everything that I was going to buy, lo dejé botado. I literally ran to my car with the kids. Mind you, now that I think of it, I should have definitely told somebody at the store. Hindsight, I was so shook. I was fighting back tears because the thing with me is I was panicking, but
it's because of your innate fear to not be able to. So
this is my recurring nightmare.
Cairo. Beverly's nightmare has always been the same since she became a mom.
No. This is my recurring nightmare since I was a child.
Well, but more intensely now that you're a mom, because you always had this dream about like not being able to save everybody. But now that you're a mom of multiple children, it's become even more real.
100%.
So she's always had this fear. I know. And you're like, she's tearing up.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is something that we talk about all the time. Yeah. I mean, she called me that day and she was telling me everything that happened. I was like, babe, but like, I'm like, did you do this? Did you do that? And she's like, I left the store. And I was like, okay.
I did nothing.
And she hasn't gone back. She hasn't gone back to that store.
And I went once and it was with you. And I was panicking. I can't go back to that store. I'm like really traumatized.
And I get that. But that's why my son is always in my cart. Because
I have too many kids to fit in one cart. But that's my fear, that all my kids need me for an emergency at the same time. And I don't have enough arms
to have a dream about people drowning. And not being able to save everybody.
Anyway, recurring nightmare. This conversation has turned 100 ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say my story time about that. That was terrifying. And you know what? I would just want to say that, all of us moms probably have like a plan. Like, oh, well, if this happened, I would do this. And if that happened, I would do this. That's been a recurring nightmare for my entire life, right? That I don't have enough hands to help everyone. And I had a plan in place. Do you think I remembered anything?
Can I just be honest that this is a nightmare that I have, and that's why I only want 2 kids?
Smart.
Because I'm like, I only have 2 arms.
I know.
Anyways.
What I need to do is become rich so I can just hire a nanny, 2 nannies. I need 2 nannies to go with me everywhere.
Probably 3, 1 for each child.
Well, yeah, you're right. Anyway,
so,
back to the first gen, second gen. We went way off the books here.
Sorry, we're just at this point. It's just because all these conversations are things that I don't want to say that our kids don't have to deal with, but it's going to look different.
It's definitely going to look different.
And
I think that's like kind of general, like first gen, second gen, or no gen, like
no gen.
And it's definitely going to look different for each generation moving down. Everything.
For sure.
Like I said, I keep saying going back to Jessica, but like her kids are going to be first generation, but they're not going to have to go through the struggle of filling out paper for their mom because she doesn't know English. Mm-hmm. They're not going to have the struggle of like not knowing how to fill out paperwork, applications for college. Mm-hmm. They're not going to have the struggle of us. Our parents came here and they had to work factory jobs because they had no option. So they pushed college on us. Mm-hmm. We know better. Mm-hmm. We know that, people are successful without college. Mm-hmm. And, if it's not something that you want to do and I'm pushing you to do it, you're probably not going to succeed in it anyway because you're going to hate every second of it. Mm-hmm. So, like, these are all the things that we have learned that our kids will have to, like, we'll have to deal with differently or we'll get to deal with differently.
Yeah. Their perception of the fact that we can share culture is different because we were born here. And even though we are first gen and we have like a strong hold on our culture, we also understand this culture and we get to share that with our kids. Like now on the back, on the opposite end of that is that at some point, and not everybody, but at some point, like our kids are not going to have that strong correlation or connection to the motherland.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are going to be born here and there's going to be a lot of things that you only get to experience in your country, right? Or in your homeland of like where your parents or your ancestry comes from. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be able to say, oh, the funny things that we see on TikTok, like growing up Dominican.
Yeah. We had a whole episode on growing up Hispanic.
But they're not going to have that.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part.
It's challenging because we have to really work for that.
Yeah. We have to be like intentional about like making sure that our culture and our traditions don't die out. Mm-hmm. Because we're in both worlds. Mm-hmm. So like it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Like Thanksgiving, they don't do Thanksgiving in DR, do they?
No,
I think the newer generations
are doing it, but like it's not really Thanksgiving.
But it's not a tradition that's Dominican.
No.
Like that has been adopted from, I think social media again has let Dominicans that are younger see our tradition and they're like, hey, that's cool. We should do that. El Día del Pavo. Even though in my house, we don't even do pavo, but that's a different conversation. But like doing Thanksgiving, but also doing traditional Dominican food. Mm-hmm. So we're like trying to have both of the traditions of the cultures joined. Mm-hmm. I was telling you that we used to go to DR a lot more often than our kids have.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're saying exactly, being intentional. Like the reason why we have such a strong connection to our culture was because we were exposed to think about this. We have so much family still back in the homeland.
I don't, not anymore.
Okay, but I do. But for the most part, people have still family members.
Everybody was there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have so much connections that's why you're able to travel there and spend time there and know your culture. But our kids would go there only for vacations. And not even experience the things that we did when we were over there. Like,
una letrina en el campo.
And not only that, like, think about this. A lot of kids that go, and I'm saying our kids when they grow up. Mm-hmm. Because when we went, my mom would drop us off for the summer, right? The way that your mom did too.
Yeah, we did it once, and that changed my entire life.
I know. We don't want to talk about that. No, I'm kidding. But I used to spend my summers in DR for a good 3 weeks, a month. And like that, I was immersed in the culture completely. Mm-hmm. Haciendo mandado, playing typical Dominican games, walking and walking to the mall every day because there was nothing else to do.
To the mall?
Megacentro. From Lomena, we used to walk there every day.
Wow.
Every day.
We were in the campo. Yeah, the most we had is a colmado.
We've talked about this. My family's not from the campo. But we used to walk from Lomena to Megacentro every day because there was nothing else to do. So we would just go and hang out with our friends and
what I did was play dominoes and read.
But this is the thing. We used to do all of that. We used to do everything. But I was there for a month and I had a lot of friends who are actually living here in the States in like Haverhill and stuff.
One of my best friends I met in DR, this lady.
Oh yeah.
I met in DR. Because she lived in near my grandfather's house where we stayed. And, we're not family. But it feels because we saw them so much when we were in DR, like we just became, I think Shirley even stayed with them. It was a Shirley. stayed with them one summer because we didn't have enough rooms, and when we all went. What are you doing that face for?
Oh, it's the sound. I just figured it out. It's downstairs.
Oh.
Yeah, but our kids.
My kids have been to DR once.
Like that. I'll never leave my kid without me in DR. I'm sorry.
I think I could now for Ali and Liana. And not by themselves. Like maybe with my mom or with my Tia Eugenia.
See, I would do it with my mom.
And mind you, my mom has asked me for years to let them go. And I just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just a helicopter mom, but.
Listen, no shame in my game. I'm definitely a helicopter mom because I just think if, this is the thing, and I need to work on that because it's my anxiety. And I always think of the worst case scenario in everything. And that's scary because it's just like, I want to be there. If something happens, that's
the thing. I'm like, what if there's an emergency and I'm not there?
That's what scares me.
And I'm 4 hours away on a flight.
I can't do it.
Right, you have to book the flight, wait for the flight, pack a bag. Mind you, yo soy una loca. If something happened, I wouldn't even. Yo me voy así.
I'll be like in the boat on the dock, trying to get to DR.
You got on a jet ski trying to make it to DR from Boston.
Yeah. It's just all those things that our kids are not going to have to.
Listen,
I would become a row master. I would row my way to DR. Like
you get there with John arms.
Oh, for sure. Swole arms, the whole nine. But that's scary to like, my parents knew that we were well taken care of.
Yeah.
But like, once again, I think it's also social media to know the type of violence that's going on. Even though violence was prevalent when we were growing up and we were in DR, it's not as, I don't feel, or maybe it's it's on social media now, but I wasn't as scared and they weren't as scared to let me do things in DR because even though it was like dangerous, like it wasn't that dangerous. Like the fact that we could walk every day to Megacentro and we were fine, do that now.
Yeah, no.
That's what I'm saying. So did it get worse or is it just like us?
Well, when I never went to the capital in DR until now. Like now that I'm going because, John lives there. Well, we have an apartment there. But in El Campo, it didn't feel like that. Even now when I went as a grown-up, John would have to be like, I'm going into Little Caesars to pick up a pizza from the car. I just have to get out of the parking, go into the...
But in that 2 seconds...
leave your purse in the car. Don't walk out with your phone in your hand. And I'm like, really? Is it that bad? He's like, yes. He said, they will rip the phone out your hand.
They will cut your hand off.
Okay, that's crazy. Nobody's going to want to visit DR after listening to this episode.
It's not only in DR. This is happening everywhere. And maybe it is because of social media that we're able to see it as it's happening. And maybe we were naive. Like Jessica said, we were kids. We're not looking at the imminent danger wherever we're going. But now as parents, we see danger everywhere. We're like,
because it could affect our kids. And
that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's scary. Like every day, that's something I pray for. Like Cairo's safety. All the time. For all the kids. I pray for them every morning. So, because it's just a scary world.
It is.
But those are, generation or no generation, the world is in a different place.
100%.
And so, I don't know. It's just different.
Well, guys, we've been trying something different in the last few weeks where we used to have outlines when we came into episodes, and we're just kind of playing it by ear, coming with a topic in mind and just, flowing. So we apologize because we know that this conversation went 80 different ways. But what we wanted you to get out of this was, being a first generation Dominican-American, we had to go through certain things, We had certain challenges, we had certain advantages and disadvantages. When it comes to language, we had the advantage of knowing Spanish firsthand and the disadvantage of being the only ones who knew English in our house. So we're having to do a lot more than a typical child would. And then our children are going to have advantages and disadvantages where we can use the same example. The language. They have to make an effort to learn Spanish. Well, we just know it. But they have the advantage of they don't have to fill out their paperwork every September. So
they don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
Because they have parents that have been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, so, thanks for bearing with us in this random conversation. We hope we hope you enjoyed it.
I know. So on that note, thank you for not getting tipsy with us.
But still keeping it truthful.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out on Instagram at Tipsy and Truthful Podcast.
And TikTok at Tipsy and Truthful. See you next week.
Love you, babes.